Good morning and welcome to Monday's edition of the Bubba Show. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Hope you enjoyed. At least we had beautiful weather in Chicago. Hope it was great. You know, as we look back at last week, another wild week. Another week we continued to go higher, and another week that we had major economic news, and you know, most of the regular news that we look at was disappointing. But of course, Ben Bernanke did not say anything to say that the Fed was going to pull back on their stuff. And of course, Mario Draghi came out and said that we'll continue to do whatever it takes to continue to pump liquidity in the system. So the markets like that. They like the fact of the free money. Now, who's really benefiting from that is the big banks and everybody else. But we're going to cover that this week, because on Wednesday and Thursday we're going to talk about bubbles in the market. But as far as the markets basically rallied Monday and Tuesday with a pretty stiff sell-up on Wednesday based on the ADP jobs number, and then of course blew out and made new highs across the board, with the exception of the transports. All indexes are now at brand new fresh highs. And I think the interesting things to take note from here are the inability of the average guy to get involved. I think what we want to look at is the continuing of ignoring any of the bad news, because the jobs number itself was really not as good as it appeared. I mean, think about it. If you only add 165,000 jobs to your system, that's really not enough to continue growth. So we're significantly down there, but of course the market took it as good news. Why? Because they know that Uncle Ben and his merry men are going to continue to create free money for those of us who can grab onto it. So we looked at the commodity space, late rallies in the oil market. Gold was pretty much status quo throughout the week with rallies and sell-offs. But we look at the overall picture. So, you know, looking forward to this week, we see that earnings season has been basically a bust, and the markets ignore. The markets continue to climb to new highs regardless of bad news. Again, the markets ignore anything that's going on. This week will be a very quiet news week, so more of the focus will be looking at what earnings reports are coming out. And again, I think that we're at a point where the market looks and says, you know, we're going to go higher. So we are not going to look to fight the overall action. I'm going to stick with the tack that this is not the time to put in new money. This is the time to manage what you have, and this is the time to look for opportunity. I still believe that the greater risk of this market is to the downside. If you look back in history, this is the first time in 17 years that the market has not had at least a 5% correction in the first 4 months of the year. We now are in the period of the old, you know, sell in May and go away. Now, we don't subscribe to those things, but it is the time of year that some people should start to look taking some profit here. It is the time of year that the market generally slows down as we start to get to the Memorial Day holiday, the summer, people taking off, and so on. So looking at this week, you know, there's no reason to try to pick the top of the market. There's no reason to fight the overall trend of the market. It's just a great time to really observe, unless you're looking at individual issues. The biggest thing we want to look for is looking at individual stocks that we think that are either at resistance to go ahead and take a chance to sell them, or that are at support, which we would be willing to buy them. In the general markets, I think the general markets themselves have gotten too far ahead of themselves, and there's not a lot to do here. So I think you want to really sit patiently. Keep an eye on the VIX, the Victor India X-ray, the volatility index, because that is known as the fear gauge. But really what we're noticing here is that volatility is still kind of staying in the market, and we're getting wider swings during the day, so it's allowing us to have opportunity. But until we start to get a rise in volatility, so it looks like volatility is bottomed, so now if we can start to get a rise, I think we'll get some more action and more opportunities to trade. But let's kind of sit back and observe the market. Remember, the Average Joe option call every Monday night. Would love to see you there. It's great. You get to try it out. For Monday, the Bubba Show, we'll talk to you on Tuesday.